So as I sit here pondering the Cheer Flea Market and my booth, I'm thinking it was a failure. Probably. I am Brooke and my business is the Junk Parlor. In today's video, we are going to talk about packing up for a show, a flea market, the unloading process, why I think I didn't do well and that Cheer was a failure. I'm gonna give you a tour around my booth. And while I didn't buy much, I did take you shopping with me. So we'll look around Cheer Flea Market. And I have lots of videos of me shopping Cheer Flea Market if you want to watch one of those. Then I'm going to give you some tips on setting up successfully at a show. I have been a business coach for 5 years. I just recently retired from doing that. I'm going to share just a few of those tips to help you be successful if you set up at a flea market or an antique show. So be sure to watch until the end. And of course, I'm going to throw in my haul, which was teeny tiny, but I did get some good things because I had good booth neighbors. The garage has all of the things that I need to Tetris into my truck bed, including my folding tables. There's a metal rack or shelf, and we have a dresser and a cubby and the coffee table. So can I get it all in the back? That is the question. It's probably around 6 or 7 in the morning on Tuesday, and I'm drinking my coffee and we're going to get the truck loaded. So I decide I want to start with this metal rack, but of course I have to get it cleared off before I can load it. Luckily it's lightweight and I can do it all by myself. Then I start strategizing how can I fit things in the open shelves from the wire rack. And I just start Tetrising and try and work things in as tight as possible because, again, I don't have a trailer. And I just keep moving things around and seeing what fits so that I can get the most in this space before loading the next items. Okay, here's what did not make it into the truck. Now, I probably could have gotten more if I'd stacked higher, but because I know I'm coming back tonight and I can put all this stuff easier, less Tetrised in my truck and take it tomorrow, I wasn't too worried about going any higher. So after the metal rack, I put my shelves, my folding tables, and then my furniture and some other totes. I strapped that bad boy down well. Okay, so we found my booth. I'm in a nice large Morton building. However, it's not laid out like I thought in my mind. I thought I was going to be back to another vendor. All these boxes in the middle are somebody else's that they had to scoot out of the way. But basically, I'm going to have aisles where his stuff is and then here in this open area. So I'm trying to decide how to arrange the furniture because it's not going to work how it was in my head. In my head, I would be in a U shape with my dresser and cabinet on one side and the wire rack on the other, and then it would just be a U-shaped. But because there are aisles on both sides, I decided to do a table with 2 ways to come into the booth from either side. I do have somebody who's going to be on one side, basically behind the table that I'm working on now. And then I'm open, just open area to basically the Morton building door on the other. I'm only making a taller shelf on my 2 outside tables, even though the original game plan was to do it on all 3. But I wanted to keep the middle table a little bit lower now that we have a new floor plan. Otherwise, I'm just trying to group like items together. Things that are loose, I'm putting into bowls or containers, and then just trying to make groupings of same color items. I am unwrapping all of my things and making a stack of tissue paper so that I can use that as people make purchases. A lot of it is just unpacking so I can see what I have to make vignettes. If you've watched any of my videos on making vignettes for my home, basically it's the same concept. You're just packing a lot more in when you are doing a booth. Found this itty bitty cutie little shoe in my booth. Okay, so we unloaded and I've laid out most things. Remember that I will have other pieces to add in my next truckload. So on this front table, I made the riser in the middle, the shelf in the middle, so that you can see pieces on both this front side that's open and the other side, which is open to my booth space. On the other end, we have the wire rack, but on this end, I still tried to make it look cute. I will look at this again in the morning when my neighbor's stuff is not in my way. Here's the middle table, and you can kind of see the aisles. There still should be enough room for people with small strollers or the little carts to make it through. Here is the back side of that shelf that we were just talking about. And then on this side, I have my shelf pushed to the back because I will have another vendor behind me. And so customers are only going to see things from this one side. Besides trying to color block and put like items together, I'm also trying to vary heights and anchor things by layering. From the other aisle at the end of this table is that dresser and shelf combo, and then here's what we have going on this end. Okay, good morning. I'm in my truck. It is, I don't even know my days. It is Wednesday. So yesterday I came back with Matt after we got the booth mainly set up, and then I reloaded the stuff that was in the garage that I couldn't get in the first time, and then packed food. I'm gonna spend the night tonight, and then I will come back on Thursday night. I'm anticipating getting home early on Thursday because it is 90% chance of storms on Thursday. So I'm guessing it's gonna be really slow and I'm gonna be bored out of my mind, and I'll probably just come home, sleep here, and then repeat the whole process, except I won't be taking anything new with me. So here we go to day 2. So it's been years since I've been here on a Wednesday morning, but it was early. I ran over to some of the dealers that I like to shop typically on a Thursday, and I was so surprised this lady had so much stuff out. Note to self, I love shopping her booth, and I'm probably getting there after a lot of dealers have already picked through it. But she always has great prices, very unique stuff. I mean, she's all over the place, has a little bit of everything. I mention a lot how I'm trying to be a more picky buyer, and part of that is because, one, is it something that I personally would want to put in my home? Well, this is green, so yes. But 2, is it something that is worth the time, energy, and effort to list online? If it's not, then that is an encouragement to myself to just pass it. Walk away, let somebody else get it. Those are so cute. Okay. This pot was so tempting. I'm trying to get you guys a good view of the color. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I already have a white and a brown one, but I resisted. It's really hard to read, but I'm thinking this was like a souvenir piece somebody sold. I think it's cool and funky and fun. I love old advertising pieces, and this had really good color. I don't think I've ever seen one that holds salt and pepper shakers with matches. Ooh, this is a nice hotel key. What would you call it? Keychain. I've had some of these before. This one is nice. He's got a whole collection of hat stands. This guy only has an eighth of his stuff set up, and I would say just because we know it's going to rain, and so he hasn't even set anything else out. This stuff is just in a covered space. All the old ashtrays no one uses anymore.
There's always Friday, right?
I am instantly drawn to green things, and I do like the color green that's on this piece. This is a cool homemade wagon made out of a Johnson crate. Too bad Johnson is a super common name, so I don't really even collect anything with Johnson on it. Too many options. This Coke bottle crate, look where it's from. Centerville, Iowa, where we just moved from. If it hadn't been turned into a wagon, I probably would have gotten it. I've had a lot of conversations with this vendor over the years. He scored the mother lode of McCoy pottery. So this lady had an insane collection, and he said he still has more that he hasn't put out. And I bet you he's put it out at least the last 3 watch years. And, you know, he's selling a lot of pieces each time. And then you might have noticed at the front of his table, he had a bunch of precious moments. And he said he scored a huge lot of those as well and is making a good amount off of that collection. These sailboats I loved. I'm slightly kicking myself for not getting them. They were actually made from jail inmates. Sleeping in the barn, the thing I'm most nervous about, honestly, is just being cold. So I've got 2 pairs of socks on, sweats. I've got like 5 blankets, a sweatshirt, t-shirts, blah, blah, blah. So here I am sleeping in the Morton building, and I squeezed myself in between my neighbor and my booth, which was a good choice because the second night I stayed there, I slept in the front of my booth, and I could see like a foot crack underneath the door, which made me a little bit uneasy when it came to animals coming in at night.
Oh, no, thank you. I'll just
Man,
take
I
the
tell you,
butt cheeks.
all the pretty ones are so into fitness.
That is too funny.
They're hilarious. I love faces.
$2 each.
Okay.
When the rain stopped, I went outside and look how much water is in everything. We got a lot of rain, and it rained more this weekend than just on Thursday. Friday night, I slept in the Morton building again, and I got in bed or in my cot, and I heard a crash. I was very panicked that there was going to be a wild raccoon or that a person got in there with me. So I got out of my cot. I turned the lights on, and turns out this weather vane tipped over. Sidebar as I am editing this. So I felt so responsible for that weather vane falling over, even though I didn't do anything. The doors were shut, there was no one in there, etc., but I still felt so bad because I was supposed to be protecting everybody's things while I was sleeping there. Luckily, in the morning when the dealer came, I said, "Here's what happened." And he said, "Oh, that was my fault." He had moved something that he had supporting the weather vane. And so even though they probably left at like 5:30 in the afternoon and it didn't fall over until like 9:30 at night, it fell over. Friday night, I decided to rearrange my booth. And so I'll walk you around a little bit so you can see what it looks like here on Saturday. I was really trying to get things at eye level. So I moved the little mail slot cabinet piece that I had left and I put it on a table. I had a secretary desk insert that I had just stood on the floor vertically. I laid that on a table horizontally, and that kind of gave me less space for my smalls and mediums. And so I just condensed those down. No one ever showed up to be behind me. So essentially, I had 4 open sides or aisles around me, but I was not laid up to accommodate that. So a lot of times people were shopping the back side of my booth, but I didn't know if the person was going to show up on Saturday and set up for just Saturday and Sunday. And so I couldn't really rearrange anything. What I ended up doing was put some totes on the back side and set things on the totes just in case somebody showed up. I could slide those back underneath the table. But in the meantime, I was taking a little bit of advantage of that extra space. So I mentioned how I felt like Watch Here was a failure. Now, I know myself, and I am very hard on myself. I can remember having a girlfriend help me sell stuff during a junk jaunt season, and she'd be like, "Oh, you did so awesome." And I'd be like, I don't know. I want to sell more. So that being said, was it worth my time to set up at Watch Here? Probably. Was it worth the money that I made at Watch Here? Probably. And let's go over why. I probably haven't set up at a flea market in 15 years, 10 years, 15 years. So my oldest is 21, and probably when he was like 7, 8, he came with me and we set up at Watch Here Flea Market. This was probably one of the first times that I set up. It's the only flea market I've set up at, because after that, I pretty much decided that I was only going to set up at an antique show. So a flea market and an antique show are definitely different. A flea market, you're gonna have a lot cheaper things. You're gonna have dealers looking to buy things that they can sell for more and make a profit off of. And then you have people who are going to just look for things for their house, but they're looking for a bargain. At an antique show, you're going to have a little probably nicer things or more trending things, because my business is called the Junk Parlor for a reason. Junk was really, really hot when I first started selling. So rusty, crusty, repurposing farm and galvanized stuff. I mean, that was just very, very common. So it's not like your upscale, traditional antiques, wooden carved pieces that I know a lot of older people definitely think of when I say antiques. So I would set up at an antique show where things sold for more money. The booth rent cost more money. So at Watch Here Flea Market, it costs $55 to set up. At an antique show, it's gonna be more like $655. So you are going to be drawing a different kind of customer base. So Kellen and I set up. We had an air mattress to put in the truck bed, and we were going to camp. I don't think that I went to set up until Friday, so we would have stayed maybe Friday night and Saturday night and then left on Sunday. And I think that he had a lot of fun hanging out with Mom and doing that, because he made a little friend, a neighborhood boy. They rode bikes, went fishing, we camped. The second night, however, the bugs were insane. I can remember Kellen and I both just getting eaten alive. And so we ended up getting in the truck. Well, then, it's summertime. I don't remember if it was an August show, maybe an August show, probably, because he would have been in school. So hot. We sleep in the truck. Eventually we get hot, so we have to roll the windows down. Well, we only roll them a crack, but guess what? The bugs then came in the truck. So we were pretty miserable that second night and didn't get much sleep because of the bugs. But it was fun. It's something that I will never forget, and hopefully he will never forget. So while setting up at a flea market is a good experience, and you definitely are going to meet customers. That was close enough to me that I did make connections to get people to come to my store and to follow me on social media and all of those good things. But I quickly learned that I'm more of the person who wants to sell at an antique show. That lasted for a couple years, and then I decided I am not the person that wants to set up anywhere. My back is not the best, even though I'm strong and physically fit. My back is like a 90-year-old woman, and I don't like the downtime. That's probably one of the reasons I did not like having a brick and mortar. I don't like there being a lull in customers. I like to stay busy, and I don't think that sitting to the side of your booth on your phone is a good thing. I think you always want to be present and ready to help a customer when they need it. And so basically you can't get anything else done when you are set up. So I say, was it worth the time and the money that I earned to set up at Cheer? Probably. One, it reminded me why I do not want to set up at shows. So that is good, because I didn't want to sign up for a bunch of shows and then have a show and then hate it. Plus, Cheer is close enough, and I had a small enough space that I was just filling my truck with stuff, because when we moved, I sold both of my trailers. So really it isn't feasible to even set up at shows. So was it worth my time and money? Probably, because it's only $55 to set up at. I have a lot of dealer friends that will just pay for a booth. They'll put a few things in it and then they go and shop the whole time. They might have a little sign in their booth that says, call blah, 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 I'm just out shopping, or some sign that says I'll be right back, or some sign that says pay my neighbor, or some sign that says here's the box, I trust you. So they are really there because they are wanting to source for themselves. And having a space at the flea market for sure allows you a place to park your truck. You're getting free entry. You can be there every day. And so really by the time you think about how much you pay for parking and entry, you've about spent $55 if you go every day. So was it worth my time and my money? Probably, because I didn't spend a lot of time with it. So what that means, I didn't spend time, effort, money in preparation for the flea market. One, I didn't stress myself out about having an awesome display. I didn't stress myself out about changing my prices to be more flea market specific. I didn't stress out about it. So what I basically did was I packed up everything that I had that's not listed online, that I hadn't newly just literally picked up, and I put it in a tote, and I put a lid on the tote, and I just started stacking totes. I used folding tables. I used milk crates with boards on the top of them to give myself a little bit of height, and I took 2 pieces of furniture that I had purchased. Well, one of them was on a Facebook marketplace, and I sold that one. So I made $210 on that piece of furniture. That was worth it. And then on the other piece, I bought that on a pick in a lot. So I don't even really know how much I paid for it, but not that much. But it didn't sell. But I packed those things up leisurely leading up to the flea market. I loaded my truck with the help of my kids. We hauled everything from the basement out to the garage, and then I Tetrised it into my truck. I came home Tuesday night. Wednesday night I slept there. Thursday night I came home. Friday night I slept there. And then I ended up coming home for good on Saturday, even though the show lasted through Sunday. I did not do well, remember? I felt like it was a failure, so I did not want to stay that last day. I know that a lot of the dealers, probably half, maybe more than half of the dealers that load up on Sunday and hightail it out of there or leave Saturday night. So I knew, because most of the vendors left, to me that's a sign that the customers aren't there either. So I had already not done well. Why stay another day? I just really had to compact everything down to get it there get it home in one truckload, because when I went with my first truckload on Tuesday, I came home, I filled my truck bed and the cab to go back a second time. The next time I came home, I took something else that was big with me, folded theater chairs. And so even though I sold stuff, I didn't get it all there in one load. You know what I'm saying? So I really had to stack it high. I was like those memes or reels that you see when the stuff is piled higher than the truck cab. Maybe not that bad, but it was bad. And it wasn't that bad because I was past, drove by, was around, highway patrol, sheriffs, and no one pulled me over. So it wasn't that bad, but you get the picture. So when I stayed there, I stayed on a cot we have for camping, and I stayed in the Morton building that I was set up in. So I had no expense. The only expense I really had was gas going back and forth, which was minimum. It's about an hour and a half drive one way. And since I didn't come home every day, that was even less gas. Now, I am not your typical reseller maybe, because everybody that was there staying in their van or their vehicle were old men. And I guess I'm an old woman, or I'm an old man at heart, or what would that even be? I don't even know. But one of my younger friends, who is a male, he was like, "What's your Venmo? Let me Venmo you money and you can go buy a hotel." And I'm like, no. Like, the point is that I have the money that I can pay for it, but I consider that to take away from my profits. Well, I don't consider it. It does take away from my profits. So if I spend 120, 140, I don't even know what hotel rooms run in that area, but it's at least going to be $100. If I spend $100 every single night, like, there goes my profit. So for me, I'm fine with camping. You know, one of the old farts came in and he was like, "Are you gonna be okay?" He'd be like my grandpa's age. "Yes, I will be fine. We camp a lot." He's like, "Oh, well, I can never get my wife to camp." But for me, it's not that big a deal. You are exhausted by the time the flea market shuts down. You go and wash your face and you go to bed. I even turned on my computer and watched a little bit of YouTube and some house tours. It was fun. I had nobody arguing with me or talking back. So it was like a little mom vacation. And speaking of chit-chatting with the old man who checked in on me, you're making friends. So was it worth my time and money? Well, you're making connections, friends, sources. In the past, my best, the connections I have made in the past have been the absolute best. They have been great resources for sourcing. They've been great resources for having a better understanding of things that I'm buying. They've been a great resource for getting tips on how to be a good reseller, on how to make being an antique dealer a full-time job. They've given me lots of advice and tips and tricks over the years, and inventory, that it has made it totally worth it to make connections. So you're talking about customers and you're making connections that way. If somebody liked my stuff, they took my business card, I gave them my business card, I talked to them, and then they're following me on social media. They might turn around and buy something on my website. They're gonna follow me on YouTube. Whatever the situation is. But those other dealers are just as important to make friends with and make connections with. So the people in my building were awesome. I had really good neighbors. Maybe slightly talked too much, but I had really good neighbors. So that is beneficial to me, because I told them, like, I'm not coming back to sell. I will just come back to buy, which I already bought from them anyway, but now we have that relationship, right? So that is a bonus. One of the guys, they have like he told me their whole routine. Like, he takes them all out to Pizza Ranch on such and such night, and then they feed him the other nights. And on Friday night, they always do a roast, I think, on the grill, do all the fixings with it, and he contributes brownies. So, they have their routines. It's like camping. It's like a family. And they're very accepting of new people. So I like that part of networking and making connections. Was it worth my time and money? Well, I think it was. So I told you I put everything into totes. And so what didn't sell is now sitting down in my, not really my storage room, but kind of just the lower level in general. And as I'm unloading a tote, I'm taking pictures, I'm weighing, I'm measuring, and I'm getting those things scheduled to go onto my website. So it has been a good motivator to get things listed online, because while I was at the flea market, I sold a third of what I sold at the flea market, I sold online. And to me, that is better for my current life situation, because I can put things online when I want and then do whatever I want. So like flea market week, I had to be there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, planned on being there Sunday. Missed Cash's wrestling tournament on Saturday. That's one of the reasons I loaded up Saturday night. I wasn't doing well, and he was wrestling on Sunday. So this way I got to go and watch him wrestle on Sunday. Now, if I list things online, I can go watch wrestling no matter what, okay? So there's just more flexibility in your schedule. And so it really motivated me to just get my stuff online, stop making excuses, stop thinking that this other way is gonna be a better way, because really it boils down to I just forgot that that other way is not better. What I have pivoted to is the best way for me. Was it worth my time and money? Probably. I went into this thing with really low expectations because, like I said, my prices are not flea market prices. My prices are antique show prices. They are the prices of what things are selling for online, which is not always what they sell for in person. For example, I'm sure we can all think of a garage sale we've been to, for example, where someone has printed off what they're selling it for on Cherish or Poshmark or eBay or Sotheby's or some nice auction house or whatever. It really doesn't matter. One, you are selling at a garage sale, so you are not going to get the same price as a high-end antique store. Two, you telling me that this is listed online for XYZ means nothing either, because then if I really want it, I can just order it online for that amount. And two, it's online for that. That doesn't mean that it is sold for that. And even if they've printed off a sold thing, it comes back to you are Joe Schmo selling it at a garage sale. It does make a difference what selling platform you are on. Etsy should get more money than eBay for certain things, because Etsy is going to draw a different customer than eBay is, than Facebook Marketplace is, than my website is, than my garage sale is, than my antique store is. So location of where you're selling definitely matters. So I had very low expectations for how much money I was going to pull in this weekend. And I had low expectations, maybe just to not psych myself out, not to stress over it, because I do tend to be an anxious person and worry about things that are beyond my control that I shouldn't worry about. Going into it with low expectations for me in this situation was good, because I really didn't know, having antique store prices, online prices, how I would do at a flea market. I just didn't expect it to do well. So was it worth my time? Was it worth the money that I made? Probably, but I still felt it was a failure. Okay, so let's go into some tips for you if you are setting up at a show. First off, make sure your booth is accessible. What does that mean? Think about at a flea market, people are going to be pushing around a wagon or a cart or have something with them, and so you can't have narrow aisles. Also, you don't really want to have something where there's only one way in and one way out, especially if that's really tight. So you want somebody to be able to come in and out at the same time. Another tip, price for where you are selling. Don't be like me and have antique store online prices and be at the flea market. You might need to adjust your prices. And in the same breath, do not come with flea market prices and set up at a high-end antique show. Be sure to have some kind of attention getter. That could be something big and funny. That can be an awesome piece of furniture. That can be something that is brightly colored, but you want something to make people stop and check out your booth. For me, the dresser with the mail slots on top of it was going to be my attention getter, and my dresser sold the first day. So then it was much less of a statement piece. And my last basic tip for setting up is read the room. You do want to talk to people, but you don't want to take up all of their time. When I go to a flea market, I'm trying to speed shop and hit as many booths as I can before everyone else. So when I know there's a person that's going to want to talk to me for 30 minutes, I bypass their booth. In the same breath, you do want to be approachable and available to answer any questions and to build relationships with your customers. So read the room. We absolutely cannot do a video without sharing my haul. It was a small haul. I am definitely of the mindset that if I am there to sell, I am there to sell. So I have a hard time going around and shopping when I should be manning my booth. I had anticipated having one of the kids with me to sit at my booth so that I could go shop. But because of sports and just scheduling, that did not happen. They literally could not help a single day. So that is probably another reason why I did not shop very much. One of my neighbors had some really good things. And so as he was unloading, because he brought a little bit every day, I was getting to see what he brought. And they were things that I felt like I needed to purchase. When I did go out and about and look, I did think in my mind that I would be going back out again, but then with the weather and just my mindset, it wasn't happening. So I did miss out on some deals, and I think that's one of the reasons that next time I will just be going back to shop. First up, we have these candy cane striped long vintage pencils. So our little angel here, she has a slightly scary face. She still has her halo. You can see I'm shaking. I'm thinking that she probably had bells dangling from her because Santa does. So it's just the string. This kind of gives me a troll vibe if you had trolls back in the day. This pencil has been sharpened a bit, but I love it. So I grabbed that. I got Santa, who he still has his bells on. His pencil has also been sharpened, so they both have the red and green stripe. And then the candy cane has a gold tassel, no bell, but I'm not sure this one would have came with a bell. And this one has the red and white striped and has also been sharpened. Our pencils are $6 each. Look at these balls. So I took a big basket of baseballs and I ended up selling all of them to one guy. Definitely gave him a good deal, but I was ready to move them and I made a great profit on them as well. So when I saw these softballs, they had to be just right in order for me to buy them, but these were just right. I mean, look at those old balls with the big stitching. They're Corker clinchers. These guys are $30 each. I saw this Scrabble board when I first got to the show and I just was like, oh, I'll just let somebody else buy it. I have a ton of Scrabble tiles. I have a ton of the little Scrabble holders. I have a ton of the Scrabble boards. I don't need another Scrabble game. So I let it set. Well, we're getting ready to load up and it hadn't sold. And I wanted to just get rid of some things. So I asked him if I could just swap out, like, hey, can I take this and I'll give you some of my junk? And so that's what we ended up doing. So I really think that I got a good deal on it. I haven't even opened it up and looked, but I know on the tag he said there was like 100 pieces. I'm not even really sure how many pieces are supposed to be in here. And honestly, I don't care. I'm just going to sort them into the piles I already have. The one time I went out, I did actually pull the trigger on this biscuit jar or sugar jar. I'm not 100% sure that it's actually ironstone. I mean, the girl called it ironstone. It definitely has a similar look, but what would it be? Porcelain maybe? So I'm not sure, and it is unmarked. So you can't, use that as an indicator. But this is $48. Okay, then the last thing that I purchased are some skates. So he had so many skates, white, black, roller skates, ice skates. They look a little bit newer, which is okay with me. This one just has a brown interior on it because I like when they have like a tartan pattern or a color or something. But this set of ice skates is 20, and I think I just have them in my hand according to size pretty much. Then we have another nice white set. This interior is just a light tan, and it is 20. It's kind of washing out from our camera. Maybe if I put it in front of my outfit, it'll look better. Then we have another set. These are a little bit smaller even. These have a blue interior. They're also 20. And then we have a cute little training set. And their interior is just white, and they are 20. I hope today's video helped you if you are going to be setting up at a flea market or an antique show. Kind of understand the process a little bit better and the things that you need to do to help make yourself be successful selling at a show. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.